This is the QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studio on Kerba Avenue, and I am Lena E. Gwenyiba. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Following intense negotiations between Gambian and Senegalese authorities reached a temporary agreement on Tuesday to resolve a border dispute which had halted cross-border trade between the two countries for over a week. The minister and officials of the Fisheries and Water Resources Ministry met President Barrow at the State House in Banjul on Tuesday to update him on the progress of development projects. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry GCCI, in collaboration with the Roots Project, organized a forum on Tuesday with farmer organizations in the West Coast region on public-private producer partnership. With support from the government of Japan, UNICEF handed over consignment of ready-to-use therapeutic foods for children, which will provide life-saving nutrition supplies to treat severe acute malnutrition. In international news, many commuters in Senegal who regularly browse morning newspapers were left disappointed on Tuesday after media organizations staged a blackout day to protest a government media crackdown. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. Following intense negotiations, Gambian and Senegalese authorities reached a temporary agreement on Tuesday to resolve a border dispute which had halted cross-border trade between the two countries for over a week. As we hear in this report by QTV's Ansumana Isonyasi, authorities on both sides reaffirmed their commitment to harmonizing trade between the two countries.
For over a week, trucks from either side of the border at the Senoba-Ker Ayeb crossing point were left stranded after Senegalese drivers allegedly refused to pay an entry fee as required by the Gambia's tax laws, especially for trucks carrying goods. Determined to enforce the law, customs officers remained defiant on placing their trackers on Senegalese-owned trucks, leading to tensions on either side of the border and effectively halting cross-border trade at what is one of the busiest border crossings between the Gambia and Senegal. To address ongoing tensions and ease movement, while ensuring that users of this Senoba-Ker Ayeb border crossing abide by the laws of both countries, authorities from the Gambia led by 4 cabinet ministers, GRA Commissioner General Yankuba Dabo, and other service chiefs met their Senegalese counterparts on Tuesday. After welcoming them at Ker Ayeb, the two delegations met in Mansakonko for day-long intense negotiations, which yielded several agreements, effectively temporarily resolving the impasse. Dr. Chernobari, Deputy Executive Secretary of the Senegalo-Gambia Secretariat, who moderated negotiations, shared with the press some of the agreements reached.
The list of goods that have been exempted from tracking will be shared by the GRA with their Senegalese counterparts. It should be noted, however, that vehicles can be stopped and be checked for security reasons, and also truckers found breaking laws will be subjected to the full force of the law.
Along with these resolutions, he reveals that Senegal has also agreed that Gambian trucks in transit to Guinea-Bissau, Mali and Guinea-Conakry using the Senegalese corridor will only be charged for escort fees and nothing else. In addition, Senegal has also agreed to increase the period for the laissez-passer for Gambian vehicles entering Senegal from 10 days to 30 days at a cost of 5,000 CFA. With allowance for renewal for 15 days for 10,000 CFA. Equally, laissez-passer for vehicles entering Gambia and pass-avant for vehicles entering Senegal does not apply for trucks in transit.
All vehicles, whether they are Senegalese or Gambian, will pay the same tariff at the bridge at the same value in either CFA or Dalasi.
Senegal's Ministers of Transport and Commerce, Malik Ndiaye and Dr. Sering Gueye Diop, respectively, commended their Gambian counterparts for showing strong political will to provide an environment that allows citizens of both countries to thrive and live together as one people. This is a historic day, and I am happy that we have been able to address this problem. We may be two different countries, but we are one people divided by colonialism. And as Africans, we must endeavor to break these colonial barriers. Whatever affects Senegal affects the Gambia. We share the same social problems, and so we must not allow things like this to happen. We are not just neighbors, we are one people. For so many years we have talked about African integration, Senegambia integration, ECOWAS integration. All these are possible only if we look beyond our differences. Ibrahima Silla, Gambia's Minister of Transport, and Trade Minister Baboucarr Ojouf thanked President Barrow and his Senegalese counterpart Bassirou Diomaye Faye for acting swiftly to end the crisis. And while they reaffirmed their commitment to boosting economic activities between the countries, they also called on citizens of both countries to exercise patience and good neighborliness at all times.
Together we can challenge ourselves to overcome the various issues that people face on this route. But we are also more committed to move on with the spirit of this Senegambianism.
We came out very strong, both parties. There is no loser in this particular situation. All of us have gained, more so our consumers, because all the discussions we are having here were meant to facilitate trade.
With the exception of a few instances such as the disagreements that led to the dissolution of the Senegambia Confederation during the First Republic and several border closures during the Jammeh regime, the Gambia and Senegal have, since independence, enjoyed strong bilateral and social ties. Authorities now hope that this breakthrough will help further cement relations between the countries. Answane Sonyase for KTV News.
The minister and officials of the Fisheries and Water Resources Ministry met President Barrow at the State House in Banjul on Tuesday to update him on the progress of their project implementations, plan and challenges. Alice Cisse reports.
The Fisheries and Water Resources Minister, Musa Drame, and senior officials of his ministry are meeting the President for the first time as part of the ongoing sector delivery forum with the President. Fisheries is a productive sector that contributes to the economy. Due to several factors, however, the total government's revenue collected from the fisheries sector decreased from $131 million in 2022 to $110 million in 2023, a decrease of $20 million, about 15.8%. Speaking to reporters after the meeting, the Fisheries and Water Resources Minister, Musa Drame, said the meeting gave them the opportunity to share with the President the various activities of the ministry and its satellite institutions. They also shared with him their challenges in terms of procurement, funding, and project implementation.
Currently, we are working on, we call it, climate smart water project, which consists of 110 reticulation systems. At the moment, we are implementing 55. That's the funding that we have secured from the ADB. And hopefully, ADB is coming in September to be able to secure the second phase funding. We also have a ProRefish, which is being implemented by FAO jointly with the ministry, and that also goes to support the fisheries sector. For the fish for ACP, these are supports from FAO that support the women, particularly the women who are in the process of harvesting oyster, in terms of training, in terms of preserving the product and also packaging it.
Minister Drame revealed that 20 fishing boats are currently at Tangier, awaiting formal handing over to his ministry for distribution to communities and irregular migration returnees. To get the most from the fisheries sector, the government is actively reviewing its fishing license regime to increase protection for artisanal fishers and to ensure fair and sustainable management of fisheries resources. On access to water, the government has made significant strides in improving equitable access to safe drinking water. However, additional efforts are needed to bridge the gap by increasing access to safe drinking water in rural communities. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry GCCI, in collaboration with the Roots Project, organized a forum on Friday with farmer organizations in the West Coast region on public-private producer partnership. Momodu Gajaga attended and he now reports.
The matching grant for farmer organizations is set to support farmers to have a better yield and harvest and to mitigate post-harvest losses. The Roots grant provide farmers with 80% support, while the farmer organizations contribute 20% of the grant. And the GCCI will implement the grant to farmer organizations. Nuha Nyangado, Capacity Development, Knowledge Management and Communication Officer, Roots Project, explains. The Roots Project aims to support rice farmers and gardeners to have a better yield in order to enhance food security. Smallholder farmers are also included in this project. Farmer organizations can apply for a grant up to $50,000 to purchase farm implements for harvest and post-harvest. These include combine harvesters, cold stores, and tricycles, among other resources. However, there are conditions attached to applying for the matching grant, as Babukar Sao, the Deputy CEO of the GCCI, clarifies. One of the conditions of getting the matching grant is to be a Gambian farmer organization and to be registered, despite the condition of a 20% contribution towards the grant by each farmer organization. This should not deter you from applying. Those handling your applications are Gambians and will be considerate. The Roots project has a matching grant window called the Public-Private Producer Partnership, 4P financing, aimed to support farmer organizations engaged in public-private producer partnership arrangement. Fatoumata Sanyang is the Roots Business Development Officer. She spoke about marketing.
Marketing of your farm produce does not only stop at taking them to the market to sell. Even after harvesting your rice, how you dry can determine if you will sell it at a good price. For example, if you harvest pepper, there is a lot of post-harvest loss, but you can get a machine to process it to avoid post-harvest losses.
The expected outcome of the Roots project is to improve smallholder productivity through the adoption of sustainable, climate-resilient and nutrition-sensitive technologies and practices. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
From that story, we now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more local and international news stories. Do stay tuned.
Welcome to the future of transportation in the Gambia. The Bertel Harding Highway, a 22-kilometer double carriageway, is set to revolutionize travel and connectivity in our beloved country. A 3-lane highway means more space for vehicles, smoother traffic flow, and reduced congestion. Each lane has a specific purpose. The leftmost lane for overtaking and faster vehicles, the middle lane for standard driving, and the rightmost lane for slower and turning vehicles.
Need a quick car service? Espas Motors has got you covered. From quick scans to oil changes and fuel filter replacements, we handle it all within an hour. Take advantage of our exclusive promotion with 35% off labor and 10% off service. Espas Motors is located at Bertel Harding Highway, opposite Kotu Power Station. Book now. Call 353-4444, 352-2222, 385-6822. Hurry. Offer ends September 7th. Espas Motors.
Welcome back, and this is QTV News. Now, with support from the government of Japan, UNICEF handed over consignment of ready-to-use therapeutic foods for children, which will provide life-saving nutrition supplies to treat severe acute malnutrition and strengthen community resilience to combat food insecurity. More in this report. These $145,000 worth of nutrition supplies were handed over by Shinichi Heroes, Council of the Embassy of Japan, in partnership with UNICEF to the Ministry of Health. The consignment includes 2,500 cartons of ready-to-use therapeutic food, 100 cartons each of F75 and F100 therapeutic milk, and 1,000 cartons of micronutrient powders. These supplies will support the treatment of over 2,500 children under 5 suffering from severe acute malnutrition across the country. Here is Nafisa bin Shafiq, UNICEF representative in the Gambia.
These supplies will be delivered to health facilities across the country to support the integrated management of acute malnutrition. With strong partnership, we could galvanize national efforts and mobilize communities to ensure that every child grows up happy healthy and strong.
Malang N. Fofana, Acting Executive Director of NANA, highlighted the timeliness of the donation, noting that malnutrition peaks during the rainy season in the Gambia.
This cannot come at a better time than now, when we are getting into the peak of malnutrition in this country. We all know July, August, September are usually the peak period for malnutrition. And today we are witnessing a handing over of supplies that are very essential in preventing or rehabilitating those that are identified as malnourished.
Shinichi Heroes, Council of the Embassy of Japan in Dakar, emphasized Japan's commitment to addressing food shortages and health challenges in the Gambia.
Japan is very sensitive to the diverse impact of climate change on African countries, out of which floods and erratic evolution of local food production. This is why Japan proposed 2 initiatives to address food shortage and health issues.
Omar Jah, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health, acknowledged the role of UNICEF-supported interventions in combating acute malnutrition in the country.
150 healthcare providers were trained on the management of acute malnutrition, including 40 on inpatient management and 110 on outpatient management. The project also supported the supplementation of children aged 6 to 59 months with essential micronutrients in the Central River Region, CRR, and the Upper River Region, URR, the 2 regions most affected by floods. These are things that the little that we can talk about, these interventions are also through UNICEF.
The dignitaries also interacted with mothers who have benefited from these supplies. The mothers shared how their children, previously underweight, have gained weight and improved in health, appetite, and energy after receiving the nutrition support. While malnutrition remains a public health challenge in the Gambia, there has been progress. UNICEF reports improvements in exclusive breastfeeding practices, reductions in childhood stunting, wasting, and underweight cases over the past few years. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena Igwenyuba. Rice is the Gambia staple food and is cultivated in many parts of the country. Rice farmers in Janjanbureh, Nyangtangle explained how the nature of some of their work during harvesting sometimes results in post-harvest loss. This story by Jibril Dem and Loli M. Kamara is narrated by Loli M. Kamara.
Despite the hard work and dedication of these farmers, lack of resources is hampering their work. With limited access to modern farming equipment and techniques, their farmers are forced to rely on traditional methods, resulting in lower yields and less profits. Usman Sane, the Secretary General of Nyantale Rice Fields, elaborates.
The work we have done this year is massive, so we can only thank God. It's not easy for the farmers, but farmers have tried a lot. Each farmer here has to buy a plot for $1,500, and each plot is 25 by 50 meters in dimension. The money is collected by the management to run the affairs of the farmers.
Tata Kamara, another farmer, expressed her frustration, saying they work tirelessly to cultivate the farms but lack proper working tools and support.
I am speaking on behalf of everyone working in this farm, both residents and non-residents. We have farmers that are not from Janjanbureh but come here to farm. I am appealing for support such as equipment, fuel, fertilizer, and how to stop animals intruding on our farms.
Khadija Tumbalo is another rice farmer from Yorubil Kunda.
The stage we are in right now is challenging because it is time-consuming and stressful. Today is the 3rd day since I started this work, but I can't do much because I'm not feeling well, and I cannot use the thresholling barrel. I have to bring my daughter along to help me. I want the government to help us with equipment that will ease our workload.
As the harvest season continues, the farmers remain optimistic that with the right support, they can overcome these challenges and continue to provide for their families and communities. For QTV News, Loliam Kamara.
Now on to international news. Many commuters in Senegal who regularly browse morning newspapers were left disappointed on Tuesday after media organizations staged a blackout day to protest a government media crackdown. More in this report.
Most of the daily newspapers, except for the government-owned and private government newspapers, did not publish Tuesday's edition. Television screens went black on some TV stations, and some radio outlets were silent. The move is in protest against what they see as shrinking media freedom under the new government. Media organizations have accused the new government, led by former opposition politicians, of freezing the bank accounts of media companies and seizing their equipment over alleged non-payment of taxes. However, it is alleged that Senegal's main media companies have accumulated massive debt over the years, threatening the sector's economic survival. In June, Senegal's Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, who took office earlier this year, denounced what he described as misappropriation of public funds in the media industry. As part of Tuesday's media blackout, newspapers were displayed on newsstands with no content inside. The editions solely consisted of a black cover reading Journée sans presse, meaning a day without the press, and an image of Free raised fist gripping a pencil. Not all papers participated in the protest. Private outlet Walfadjri, accused of being pro-government, called the blackout an ugly scar on the cheek of our beautiful democracy. From 2021 to 2024, Senegal slipped from 49th to 94th place on Media Watchdog Reporters Without Borders World Press Freedom Index. The rights group recently urged Senegal's new president to take action to promote press freedom after years of arrest and attacks on journalists, media closures, and arbitrary internet shutdowns. Under former President Macky Sall, it remains to be seen whether the situation and the ranking will improve under President Diomaye Faye's government. Osman Jata, reporting for QTV News.
Before we end, here's a recap of the headlines. Following intense negotiations, Gambian and Senegalese authorities reached a temporary agreement on Tuesday to resolve a border dispute which had halted cross-border trade between the two countries for over a week. The minister and officials of the Fisheries and Water Resources Ministry met President Barrow at the State House in Banjul on Tuesday to update him on the progress of development projects. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry GCCI, in collaboration with the Roots Project, organized a forum on Tuesday with farmer organizations in the West Coast region on public-private producer partnership. With support from the government of Japan, UNICEF handed over a consignment of ready-to-use therapeutic foods for children, which will provide life-saving nutrition supplies to treat severe acute malnutrition. In international news, many commuters in Senegal who regularly browse morning newspapers were left disappointed on Tuesday after media organizations staged a blackout day to protest a government media crackdown. That's all we have for you in this bulletin. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thank you for watching.